Happy Halloween! This video was actually supposed to come out a few weeks ago. And for a myriad of reasons, I just had to keep procrastinating on it. So now it's coming out on literally the last day that it possibly could. So now we will be closing the season with me talking about some of my favorite Halloween TV shows and movies, and also creating outfits inspired by them. This video is kind of the perfect video for me because, as some of you may know, I went to college for costume design and then I was a stylist for a little bit. So this kind of blends my two interests together. If you find yourself in a style rut or you're just looking for general inspiration, one of the best places, in my opinion, to find it is in your favorite TV shows and movies. A lot of them have really great costume designers who understand silhouette, color theory, layering. So by paying special attention to costumes in TV shows and movies, it can really serve as a great place for inspiration for your own closet. Hopefully this will be useful to some of you. Maybe some people are gonna continue on with the spooky spirit all throughout the weekend. I won't be starting tomorrow. It's Christmas time for me. But maybe for some of you it won't be. But also, secondly, I take all of these inspirations throughout the year. So if I want to dress like Winifred Sanderson in March, I'm going to. You know, it's just every movie with costumes that I love serves as an inspiration to me, regardless of what time of the year the movie is supposed to be based in. Now, I am gonna make another one of these videos in November at some point, full of fall inspiration and fall movies and TV shows. So if you want it to be a little bit more on brand for the time of year, that one will be coming out very soon. These shows are not in any order other than the order that I thought of them in. So let's get started with the first one. Practical Magic. I think I watched this for the first time as an adult, but a very young adult, maybe 18 or 19, and it has been a classic ever since. I watch it every year. So it's a very short synopsis. I'm gonna be doing this for every one of these, just in case you haven't had the opportunity to watch it, but some of them feel kind of sillier because I know that most people probably have watched them. But anyway, Sally and Jillian are two sisters that have lived in a family of witches that come from generations of witches, and both of them have kind of remained a little bit separated from their own magic, which is very different from their two aunts who raised them. But certain dangerous things happen to where they have to reconnect with each other and with their own magic. Everyone in this movie just looks so cozy, but so cool and chic at the same time. The combo of cardigans with jeans and a lot of slip dresses and slip skirts are just such a good combo. I think that a lot of us in 2024 really think of silhouettes like this as the ultimate 90s look. It's very pleasing to the eye even today. There's also a good mix of casual and fancy. It just feels like sometimes they put a really fancy dress with a really casual cardigan and somehow it really works together. And they really counterbalance each other to make a very interesting outfit. This is just one of them that is a great place to start if you're looking for autumnal inspiration for clothing. Okay, so here are some of the outfits I'm gonna be inspired by. Lots of slip dresses and slip skirts with cozy sweaters and cardigans. There's outfits in this movie that don't have this silhouette, but most outfits are some variation of this combo. For colors, there's anywhere from like a red wine or burgundy to even a rust, along with some forest greens to even some paler green colors. Actually, these two colors go really well together. It can definitely read Christmas, but it can also read quite autumn as well. But they can also be worn alone. Usually these colors are worn with warm neutrals like cream or sienna brown. Velvet fabrics and floral patterns will bring some much needed detail and dimensions to the outfit. As far as options to achieve this look, a slip dress would of course be the easiest thing, but I think you have more options. You can do any dress or skirt with a slimmer silhouette like an A-line or even a sundress style, then pair that with either a cardigan set, a sweater, or even a sweatshirt might work depending on the dress. And for shoes, I am of course going to recommend boots. I'm probably going to recommend them every time because this is a Halloween fall styling video, but a more utilitarian boot could offset the more traditionally femme dress, or you could go for the very 90s skinny heel boot. Another option that I feel is very 90s would be a pair of non-athletic sneakers. Now, since I have a plethora of slip dresses and cardigans, that was the combo I went for with both of my outfits. Over the Garden Wall is a TV show that I once again did not watch until I was an adult, but there's something about this show that feels like an instant classic, and I have to remind myself that I have not been watching this show since I was like 5 years old. This is an animated TV show about Wirt and Greg, two brothers who got lost in a fantastical place called the Unknown, and through this adventure they meet a lot of strange people from a lot of strange places in an attempt to go back home. Now, I know this might be surprising to actually put an animated TV show on this list, but let me explain. It's for a couple of reasons. I think it deserves it. First off is I feel like the costumes in this show, specifically when it comes to our two main characters, Wirt and Greg, use your assumptions against you. I don't want to spoil anything, but Wirt and Greg look like they kind of belong in this fantasy world, and it took me too long, honestly. I think I was disregarding like dialogue to figure out the reality of the situation, and I really like that. Second of all, because this takes place in a fantasy world, every episode takes place in a different place, and each of those places has its own aesthetic and specifically a time period that it's inspired by, or at least it seems to be inspired by. However, I really appreciate that everything still feels very cohesive, even though every episode looks slightly different, and that is because within each episode, it's kind of like they picked an aesthetic and a time period and they stick to it really well. An example of that is in the Manor Endicott episode, Lord Endicott and Lady Grey. Is that her name? I think it's Lady Grey. They both look like they're from the 18th century, but then you go to other episodes where characters look like they might be from the 1600s or from the Edwardian period, and it all just works really well to lend to the fantasy feel. So these are the outfits I'm going to try to recreate. First is Beatrice's dress when she's a human, which you can only see for like a moment, but it's so pretty. And then I'm going to try to mix together both Wirt and Greg's outfits. I'm also going to lean slightly into the general historical fantasy vibes of the show. As for colors, our main characters stick to rather cool tones, which makes sense color theory wise, as they are surrounded by a very warm colored autumn world. So for them to stick out, cool tones are best. There's navy blues, greens, and teals, with grays and taupes for neutrals, but pops of fall colors would be a nice addition, especially red, as Wirt wears a red hat, but oranges and yellows would also make a nice pop. Since there are no patterns in this animated series, which makes sense, since it's animated, you can keep these patterns pretty muted, but I would still put a nice relief pattern or a small floral pattern, or even a plaid, or you can break up the textures with like knits and wools. So some ideas I have as to how to recreate these looks: for Beatrice, either a blue or green dress or anywhere in between with more vintagey vibes, or just a bit more of a fuller skirt. Then you can add some kind of shirt underneath. A blouse in a lighter color would be perfect, but a simple white blouse or even a t-shirt could totally work. For shoes, you can of course do a boot in a more Victorian style, would really push it over the edge for the historical vibes, but clogs or flats would also be great alternatives. For the Greg Wirt mixture, you could do of course a pair of overalls in like a green or blue color, or even denim. But gray or green trousers or pants will also work, or I think a pinafore could also work really well. Then if you have a navy peacoat or just a peacoat, that would actually be great if you kind of want to go after Wirt's cape. I do not have one, but if you do, I thought I'd bring it up. And paired with the bottoms, either a short cap blouse would be a nice pairing, or a t-shirt or a knit top would add some nice texture to the outfit. For shoes, guess what? Boots. But also Mary Jane's or tennis shoes could make a cool outfit that still gives off the vibes we want.
already here. Nice try. Reach here by good 5 minutes.
Paula, I'm so relieved.
Whatever, loser.
So Twitches, I probably saw this the year it aired. I was a kid when it came out, and I've watched it every year since. This show, I don't feel like enough people talk about it. I love this show. It might just be because it is pure nostalgia, but I think it is cute and so sincere. I love it. It's just very sweet. I always tear up at the end, and I don't know why. It's about Alex and Cameron who run into each other one day and immediately realize two things: that one, they look exactly alike, and two, they're actually magical witches. Their powers that were, I guess, dormant before this point start immediately working the moment they meet each other. Both of them were adopted, and throughout the course of the movie, they don't just realize that they are witches or twins, but they are actually the daughters of two very powerful leaders who gave them up as babies in order to protect them. And now they have to protect the land that they originally came from. Now, this one's a little different from the others because I actually don't love the outfits in this movie, and it's probably because it's like a mid-2000s decom. It has that look, if you know what I'm talking about. But I love this movie so much, and I kind of wanted to get more people to watch it. So I'm gonna try to recreate their looks. So they're very bright and colorful and fun, so I'm gonna give it a try. Here are the outfits I'm going to be inspired by. They don't wear many costumes, especially in the first movie, but they do tend to stick to a pretty tight color scheme. These two are characters that are after my own heart because they have a very minimal use of neutrals, which is probably because they are a decom. Alex's outfits consist of denim, light blue, lavender, and a dark brown leather detail, like with the belt. Along with jeans, her textures are quite light and gossamer, a little see-through. So while Alex is a bit more sedated in her colors, Cameron's colors are more saturated and brighter. She has a mix of bright blues and pinks with a bit of orange detail. Her fabrics are very mid-2000s with t-shirt and cotton jersey, as well as a high shine satin at one point. Okay, so as far as how to recreate these looks for 2024, some great options would be jeans, colorful pants, or even a dress with a similar color. Then for a top, I would lean into the early-ish 2000s. I suppose this would actually be considered the mid-2000s, but a fitted long sleeve, baby tees, a cropped cardigan, or even a mini dress would all start to give a similar silhouette, but it might feel a bit more modern. And then for a shoe, you could do the non-athletic sneaker. I think that's actually what Alex wears, or since it's fall, knee-high boots or Doc Martens would also be great alternatives. Hocus Pocus has and always will be my favorite Halloween movie. If you asked me what the most Halloween movie is, I would have to say Hocus Pocus. And honestly, it's because it stuck with me more as a child. And I think that's because of the really cool outfits all three of the sisters get to wear. So Hocus Pocus, if you just so happen not to know, is about three witches. Well, technically one witch, Winifred Sanderson, and her two sisters, Sarah and Mary, who have been taking children's souls to stay young. However, they have been dormant for a very long time, but on Halloween night, someone lights a black candle, reawakening them and freeing them to wreak havoc. Now, what the rest of the cast wears is, of course, modern for the time in which it was made, which was the 90s. So very cute, but nothing much to say. I was always obsessed as a kid with what Winifred, Mary, and Sarah wore. You could tell that it was inspired by about the 1600s, but they had so much fun with it. There was so much detail. There are so many layers. I could literally stare at these costumes all day, and I stare at them for a long time, and every time I do, there's something new that I find. There's so much care put into these costumes. Also, the colors are great. They're subdued, but colorful at the same time. There's not a lot of true neutrals in any of their costumes. I just really love them. I've actually recreated these costumes several times in my own closet throughout my life. They're some of my biggest inspirations for my clothing. So of course, the outfits I'm going to be inspired by are the three costumes that the Sanderson sisters wear. The thing I love about their costumes is that they each have a very distinct color palette, and honestly really good color theory, but they all feel kind of autumnal in their own way. All of Winifred's colors are pretty saturated, but in the second movie they play with hue a bit, so her color scheme is a forest green paired with lighter tones of green, and then a really saturated, almost blue tinted purple, but a light purple can also give off the same vibes. She also has gold detailing. For Sarah's fabrics, she has a span from light pink to mauve, to a wine red, and lastly, a very dark purple. And for Mary, she has two different tones of orange, one just a mid-tone orange and the other almost a red rusty color. Then she has a really cool plaid paired with it, as well as what seems to be a mix of an orange and purple boucle, if I would be able to guess based off of what I'm seeing. I really like how all three of these characters have purple in their costumes because it kind of ties them together. I actually hadn't noticed that until I started this video. All right, ways that I would attempt to recreate these costumes for every day. So of course, corsets are a great way to get a modern outfit to immediately feel more fantasy and historically inspired. But if you're not obsessed with corsets and have more corsets than days of the week like I do, a fitted top or blouse with vintage details will also give off a similar look. Now, the best way to modernize, or at least make a corset outfit look more interesting in my opinion, is pants. And pants in some like interesting colors would be great for the Sanderson sisters, but also any skirt will do. And I even think a mini skirt would be really cute and a cool silhouette. As for shoes, oh look at that, boots. Either a chunky boot or a more Victorian inspired boot will make the look more interesting. Also, any chunky shoe will give off a cool vibe and a similar aesthetic. The next two are a TV show and a remake movie of that TV show, and that is Bewitched. Now, you may not have heard that there was a remake of the Bewitched TV show in 2005, starring Nicole Kidman and Will Ferrell, and honestly, I'll give that to you. I don't think it was very popular at the time, but I was raised on both of these things. I think the remake is very cute and sweet, and it pays homage to the original pretty well while being its own thing. The remake is about Isabel, who is a witch who wants to start living a quote unquote normal life. So she drops her witchy ways, and somehow through a lot of luck and a little bit of magic, she gets cast as Samantha on the remake. I know, it's a remake about a remake, as Samantha for a TV remake of the Bewitched show. Will Ferrell is going to play Darren, and he cast her specifically because he wants to be the true star. This is a very cute rom-com. I haven't seen it fully in so long, but the aesthetics and the costume design of this movie are enough for me to recommend it. Just the way the movie looks and the way specifically Isabel is dressed, I love it. It's perfect. And if you don't know what the original Bewitched TV show was about, it was a TV show that went from the mid 1960s to the early 1970s, and it was about a witch, Samantha, who married a mortal, Darren, and she didn't tell him that she was a witch until her wedding night, which, not a great start, but then they have to deal with deciding together that they're going to try their best not to use magic in their lives while getting a little interference from her quirky magical family like her mother and Dora. I think it's just a classic. I have reruns of that playing all the time in the background while I'm working and just doing things during the day. Now, as far as the remake, I have always loved Isabel's costumes. They're flowy and delicate. The color palette is just really beautiful. I want to wear everything that she wears in this movie to this day. And then Samantha, she wears what I think is just like an elevated version of what the average woman would have been wearing in 1960s America, but again, elevated. She wears a lot of mini skirts, a lot of stretch fabrics, but I think they did a really good job. I think she looks really cute in a lot of her outfits. I mean, I probably would have veered a little bit more towards the witchy vibes with her, but you know what? I think they did a great job regardless. For Isabel, she wears a ton of light fabrics, both in fabric weight and color, unless she's being her witchy self, and then she wears black. So usually she wears a lot of pastel pinks, blues, and purples with very lightly colored neutrals to ground it. Samantha, on the other hand, as I mentioned, is pretty par for the course when you think of late 60s and early 70s fashion. So a lot of very saturated colors like bright reds and blues. Saw chartreuse a few times with bold patterns like florals and plaids. She also wears a good amount of knits and stretch fabrics, as was quite popular at the time. As far as inspiration for Isabel, she wears basically what everyone thinks of as like the dream rom-com heroine. It's a lot of flouncy skirts with cozy layers. So any skirt with a petticoat or lace detailing would be great, but this could also be your chance for a more neutral area in your outfit. So a circle skirt or a fuller skirted dress will also do. Like Isabel, you could wear a cute blouse with a Peter Pan collar, a t-shirt, a cardigan, or even a sweater vest. Make sure it's quite fitted, and pastel colors with floral details are going to sell the Isabel look. As for shoes, you once again could go for a flat. I love the look of flats, but they kill my feet, so if they don't do that for you, it's a great option. But also a chunkier shoe would change up the very dreamy and delicate outfit so far, but also a more vintage inspired shoe could also be quite sweet. Some ideas for Samantha would be a mini skirt or a skirt that's a bit more slim and fitted to the body at any length. You could also go for a retro feeling dress as well, but she also wore a lot of pants, so a slim fitted trouser or a pleated trouser could also do quite nicely. For tops, to go for a more modern edge, a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt will do the trick. You could also lean more into fall and wear a turtleneck or a sweater or even a knit top, of which Samantha wears quite a few during the run of the show. A block heel or penny loafer will really lean into the 70s feel. Oh look, it's boots again. But this time a sleek ankle boot will really lean into the 60s and 70s vibe while still managing to feel quite modern. But if you want to go very modern and change up the feel of the entire outfit, I would once again add a pair of non-athletic sneakers to the outfit, which will also work quite well with Isabel's look, if I'm being honest. The last one is Ghost Whisperer. This one is brand new to me. It's not a new show. I think it came out in like 2008, but I just tried it this year and I love it. I'm only on the first season, but so far it's been really fun. And I don't know why this isn't considered to be like on the same level as Gilmore Girls when it comes to how classic her outfits are. They're so cute, all of them, which is actually, I think, hard to do, because this did come out at a time that I think modern audiences don't tend to really love the look of outfits like this, but this show did a great job. I love every outfit she wears. The show stars Jennifer Love Hewitt, and it's about Melinda, a woman who owns an antique store, but on the side, she can talk to ghosts. Every week on the show, a new ghost comes into her life, and she has to help them pass over to the other side while not seeming incredibly insane to the people around her in her small town. Like I said, the costumes are absolutely amazing because they have her own a vintage store. I think they really tried to veer into a very vintage inspired closet, but they do such a great job of mixing new and old together. Also, just a great job at layering and composition of an outfit and contrast. It's all great. She literally looks like she beat you to your grandma's closet and took the best things out and have integrated it into her own wardrobe in the best way possible. I'm going to be inspired by this matching vest suit look. That is one of my favorites, but I'm also going to break down just how to achieve Melinda's aesthetic in general. So for fabrics, she wears such a wide variety, it's hard to pin it down, but most often she mixes very delicate, lacy, and flouncy fabrics in light colors with neutrals and a much more heavy weighted fabric like wool or denim. So generally, Melinda's style is a great mix of old and new, delicate and sturdy, light and dark even. You're going to want to take out your most unique pieces for this look. It could be vintage or retro inspired clothes, but also just detailed or flouncy or lacy or just intricate pieces are a good place to start. Usually her dresses and tops tend to follow this rule. Then you're going to want to pair that with more utilitarian basics. Trousers, denim, t-shirts, anything that would serve as a base and let those unique pieces shine. Interesting layers will also help achieve a Melinda-inspired look. As far as the outfit that I want to recreate, a matching vest and trousers would be, of course, the best place to start. If you just have a pair of trousers or a skirt made of suit material, you can then find a similar vest or a fitted sweater vest to pair with it, and that will also at least be similar. Then you can add a frilly blouse underneath the vest, or if you don't have any kind of vest, a denim blazer would also be a great alternative. It's getting farther away from the specific outfit I'm inspired by, but she definitely wears denim to ground her outfits pretty often, so using that here instead would be a good alternative. I feel like I'm saying alternative a lot in this video. I believe she wears Converses with this outfit, which is such a great contrast to what is already like a really work appropriate look, but non-athletic sneakers or loafers would also look very nice. For an added touch, a scarf made to look like a tie or some kind of bolo like jewelry can add that tie detail. Unless you actually have a tie, which would be perfect, just wear that. And that was all of them. This was such a fun video. I hope you all have a very happy Halloween, as well as a cozy, comfy, safe, fun Halloween as well. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe and also comment. All that stuff helps me out. I hope you had a good time, and I hope to see you back here next time. I'll see you in November. Bye.